Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be letting a random number generator choose the books that I read. So I haven't done a couple of these videos before and I just basically do them to try to get to the books that are on my TBR and that are not on my priority list and that I will probably never get to, or at least not anytime soon, and just hoping that the random number generator will actually choose some books from the bottom of my TBR, which I think it did in the first and the second videos, but it definitely didn't in the third. I mean, it didn't choose books that were on the bottom of my TBR, but it did choose books that were not on my priority list. I wasn't gonna read them anytime soon either, I don't think. So it still worked out, and I mean the point is I read books. That's the main goal, that's the main point. And so going to my, let me get my laptop closer, going to my Goodreads TBR. This always happens every single time. Here it says want to read 194 books, but then when we look at the actual books and book covers, the last one is 195. There's always one extra there. I could, try to find which is the book that is, there twice, I guess, but I honestly cannot be bothered. So it's always gonna be like this. So 195, this 233 was what it was the last time I used it. And it's not that I have read those many books. It's just that I cleared out some books from my TBR because I'm actually never gonna read those books. So, let's just get them out. So I think I said 195. And yeah, let's choose our first book. Number 16. That's definitely very low, very on the bottom of my TBR, which is what I wanted, I suppose. 16. Recursion. Okay, that's, I think, sci-fi. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, sci-fi. Okay. Then we're gonna remove number 16 and we're gonna spin for our second book. 168. Okay. Let's go up. 168. The Justice of Kings. For sure, fantasy. First book in a series, not exactly ideal because I wasn't trying to start new series because I'm in the middle of 1,000 of them. But sure, why not? And let's go for our last spin. We've got 5. Okay, that's very on the bottom. Okay, 5. Wow. Number 5 is The Way of Kings. Okay, I am actually, I do own that book, but I want to film videos for that book, and that's not gonna fit my schedule right now because I have other videos planned, and I also don't want to read the book and wait 2 or 3 months to upload the video. So we're not gonna go with that one just because I have scheduled things differently. So now hopefully our last spin. 15. Wasn't the first one 16? It was 15. King of Scars. I've heard mixed things about this book. Not entirely sure if I am that excited for it, but I mean, sure, let's go with it. I mean, we can close this. So yeah, Recursion is sci-fi, thriller, time travel. Okay, sounds fun. I definitely would not have gotten to this book anytime soon though, so excited for this. Then The Justice of Kings is fantasy, adults, high fantasy, dark fantasy. Yeah, I mean, sounds fun. How many books does the series have? 3. Okay, yeah, sure. Like I said, not what I was exactly looking for at this moment in time, but I have so many series on my TBR that it wasn't likely that it wouldn't choose one of them. So yeah, sure. I mean, it chose two of them actually. So actually, maybe it could have not chosen one of these. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It did. King of Scars is the first book in the King of Scars, I think, duology. Yeah, duology. And this is in the like Grishaverse. I think I've read like all the other books in this universe because I did read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I also read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, I think that's what it's called. So I think I'm just missing like this duology. I mean, I think there is like another Six of Crows book coming eventually one day, but for now I've read all of the books except for these two. But I mean, it does have a pretty high rating, but I've also seen like mixed reviews of this book, so that's why I haven't picked it up yet, because my goal was to like read it after Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, but I didn't because I was like, people don't love this. But I guess it's time to finally read it. So yeah, let's get into reading these three books. Okay, so I am 57% into our first book, Recursion, and we are following two different characters, and they are in like two different timelines, two different years. And so first we start following Barry, and he is a detective, and his story is in 2018, and he finds someone who is suffering from FMS, which is a false memory syndrome. And there are some people, like it is known that some people suffer from that. And basically, that syndrome is when people, like randomly, one day, like they get the memories of a whole other life. Like, for example, that specific character, like randomly, she remembered a whole other life where she was married and had a son, but she was actually single and had no children. And she says that like she looked for the man who was supposedly her husband in those memories, and I mean he did exist, but he was not her husband. He was married to someone else, and he did seem like he recognized her. And Barry says that those people who have FMS, the people who were like supposedly connected to them in those other memories, they also have like some memories from that other life, I guess. And then we're following Helena, and she starts in 2007, and now I think we're like at the end of 2008 or beginning of 2009. Not entirely sure. But she is a neuroscientist, and she is trying to create a device that is related to memory. Not entirely sure if it's supposed to like record memories or to like retrieve memories, help people relive some memories. But yeah, she's trying to do that, and she's approached by someone who wants to help her achieve that. And yeah, we're following those two characters, and we do get to a point like before where I stopped, where we see like how those two stories converge, and I'm really enjoying it. I am very like intrigued about the whole thing. I'm really liking it. I also really like both of the main characters we're following. Like I'm really liking it, but I have to be paying a lot of attention to it. Like I'm listening to the audiobook and reading the ebook at the same time, and I have to be like hyper focused to actually understand what's happening. It is confusing, but yeah, I think I'm understanding, and I'm really enjoying it. Like I'm really really enjoying it. And yeah, I'm gonna finish it and tell you what I thought about it. Okay, so I finished Recursion, and when I last updated, like when I got to the halfway point, and even like after I got back into reading it, I was really feeling like it could be a 5-star book because I was like obsessed with it. But then like things got crazier, and I mean, we obviously got to learn like everything that was happening and why it was happening and how it was happening. And we also saw the characters try to fix everything that was going wrong, and a lot was going wrong. And like I said, I had to pay like a lot of attention to this book, which is not a bad thing at all. Like it's good that I was so like immersed in this book, which maybe is the reason like why I was so like obsessed with it. But yeah, I really really had to focus, and especially like the last part of this book. I think it had 5 parts, and part 5 like it was insane, and I'm not entirely sure if I loved it or if it was like a little too much. Like I did love the book as a whole. Like I really really love this book. It's gonna be like at least 4 stars, but it could be more. Like I'm still not entirely sure. I'm still trying to process everything that happened and like how I feel about it. But I did really really love it. That is a fact. Like it's at least 4 stars. And yeah, I will give my final ratings for all the books at the end of the video. But yeah, I did really really enjoy it. And now we're gonna go into our next book, which is The Justice of Kings, I think. And I realized that at first I thought, oh, I'm actually gonna be reading like 2 books with the word king in the title, or kings. But then I realized that actually like the random number generator chose 3 books with the word kings, because it did choose The Way of Kings as well. So there's that. But anyway, I'm gonna get into that book and update you about halfway through. Okay, so I am 51% into The Justice of Kings. And, you know, obviously I must have read the synopsis of this book, like, at some point, because it was in my TBR, but I don't remember it at all. And also, I did not, like, reread it before getting into the book. And, like, I still have not reread it at this point, and I don't think I will. So I went into it, like, completely blind, no idea what it was about. And I'm still not entirely fully sure what it's about, but we are following 3 characters, like mainly 2, and the POV of only 1. And the character whose POV we are following is Helena. And the fact that we have another like Helena main character, since one of the main characters in Recursion was also Helena, like what is happening? But yeah, we are following her, and she is Von Valt's, I think that's his name, Von Valt's clerk. And Von Valt is a justice. And what he does, like his job as a justice, is basically, from my understanding, is that like he goes from town to town, making sure that the emperor's rules, the emperor's laws are being, you know, followed. And we see them like at a town first, and we see that, you know, the people from that town are, you know, breaking the law in the sense that they're not following the religion that the emperor wants them to follow. They're following like the religion that, you know, they always used to follow before the emperor started being their emperor, you know, before he started ruling over those people. And we see, you know, how he deals with that, and like the kind of person that he is in the way that he deals with that. And actually I really like him. I mean, I really like the 3 characters that we're following. And then they move on to like another town, and in that town there has been like a murder. Someone has been killed, and they still, like the people from the town and the sheriff, they still have not like figured out like who the killer was, or like how or why or anything. So Von Wald, like, he wants to also be part of the investigation. And like pretty much towards the point where I stopped, we learned that there are like some revolutions starting, and that is obviously very concerning, especially for someone like Von Wald, who is a justice. He's trying to make sure that the laws are followed. And I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this book, because I enjoy it. Like, I am liking what we're getting. I really like the characters that we're following, but I feel like until this point, not a lot has happened. Like, it's going definitely very slow. And also, I would have wanted to learn more about the world. Like, we know that there is like this emperor, this new emperor, who is now like ruling like all these people. And I think like he wasn't before ruling over like a lot of those lands. But other than that, like, I'm still very confused about the world. But at the same time, like, I'm pretty invested, because we know from the start that things have gone very wrong with the characters. Like, Helena says from the beginning that she's like, who would have known that this town was where our downfall would start, or something like that. And there have been a few other instances where she comments things about like everything going wrong with them. So I'm definitely like curious about like exactly what went wrong, and like how wrong, and like where they are now. So I think that's like why I'm so invested, because like I do like the characters, and so I want to see what happened to them. But yeah, I'm not like entirely like in love with this book. So like it's going well, but it's not going like the best. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. Also, there is a romance, and like I never read anything for the romance, and also I don't think that romance is supposed to be like a big important part of this book. But I just want to mention that it's absolutely ridiculous. That's it. That's all I wanted to say about it. But yeah, it's going well. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not loving it. I'm not like obsessed with it. I'm not like 5-star feeling about it. But yeah, I'm gonna finish it, and I will be back. Okay, so I finished The Justice of Kings, and we basically like focused and got to know a group of the rebels, and to see like exactly how they were doing their revolution. And maybe like 65% in, things got crazy, and from that point on I was obsessed. And there were like a few fight scenes, and they were like so good and so gruesome. Like, I remember that one line was like, someone basically lost an arm, and what it said was something like, the arm flopped to the ground like a big dead trout. And I thought that was really funny and really gruesome at the same time, and I absolutely loved it. And like, I always liked the characters. Like, I always knew that I liked them like from the beginning. But towards the end, when things were happening, I realized that I was even more like connected to them than I expected. Like, I cared even more about them than I thought that I did. And yeah, like, the end was absolutely wild, and I really, really, really love the almost the entire second half. Like I said, from like 65% in, like around that, I really, really loved it. But I did think that like the first half and a little over the first half was a bit slow. So I'm not entirely sure what to rate it. Like, what I feel like is 3.75, but I don't usually do like 0.25 or 0.75. So I need to decide if my 3.75 is closer to a 3.5 or a 4. Like that's where I am. I'm just not entirely sure where like it's leaning, but I think it's leaning towards a 4 because I really like I always enjoyed it. I didn't always love it, but I always enjoyed it and I really loved the ending. So, yeah, I think I'm leaning towards a 4 and I'm definitely interested to like continue the series and see where the story goes. But yeah, we are now gonna move on to our third and last book, which is King of Scars, and I am gonna read like 50%, and I will be back to update on how that one's going. Okay, so I am around halfway through King of Scars, and this one is like kind of hard to talk about without spoilers because like it is the first book in a duology, but it's the sixth, I think, book in like a world in a universe. So it's kind of hard to talk about like without spoiling the series that came before it. But this is like in the Grishaverse, and it's after like the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. Although I think there's gonna be a third book, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's after those books, and we are following a character that was introduced in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. And honestly, like he was my favorite character there. He was the only character like I actually really liked, and he is the king now, the King of Scars. And we are following three POVs. We are following that character who's the king, we are following his general, and we are following a character from the Six of Crows duology. And actually, I had no idea that character was gonna be like in this book. So that was a pleasant surprise because I do really like her. And we're also following like two different plots, although they are connected because like what that character from Six of Crows is doing, like the other characters like know about it and it's like I said connected, but the main story like with the king is that he has some like dark entity like inside of him that he cannot control, and so they're trying to fix that because that is obviously dangerous for himself and for everyone around him, and since he's the king, for like the whole country. So yeah, they're trying to fix that, and that's what's happening. And like I'm enjoying it, but I'm not loving it. And I don't know, like I do like being back in this world and I do like being back with these characters that I actually do really like, but I don't know, like I'm not that interested in what's happening. Like I don't know if it's the book's problem or if it's like if I'm the problem, but I know that I'm not very invested, and I'm not very like I'm not excited, Like it's okay, I'm not like completely bored, but sometimes I'm a little bored. Also, I don't know if it's because I think it might be like a little long, like it feels like it's maybe a bit too long, but yeah, like I'm enjoying it. It's going okay, but I am sadly not loving it. And maybe if I had read it like closer to when I read the other books, or even closer to when I watched the show, maybe I would have been like more into it, because I was in that vibe, in that mood. But now, like, it's okay, but I'm not, like I said a million times already, not loving it. But yeah, I am gonna finish it and I will be back to let you know how that goes. Probably not what happened because I'm trying to not spoil anything, and I'm sure I already spoiled some things. So basically, I guess I will be back to tell you my thoughts about it, and also to wrap up this video and my final ratings for all of the books. Okay, so I have finished the book King of Scars, and my thoughts are like pretty much the same, because like it was fun, it was enjoyable, it was okay, but it was nothing I was obsessed with. It was nothing I was like very excited about. And I feel like the, evil force, the evil being, the villain, the enemy, I'm not, again, very excited about it, because I thought, that was behind us. I thought that was past. I thought that was done with. And apparently it's not. And I don't know, not excited. And I don't know, like I was not very excited to be, down that path again, although it's in a different way. It's also not exactly. And like, yeah, it was okay. It was nice to be back in that world. It was nice to be back with those characters that I liked, even though I feel like I didn't like them as much in this book. And I don't know if it was because I wasn't, enjoying the book as much as I wanted, and so I didn't like the characters as much, or if they really were, I don't know, different. I don't know exactly, but I know that I didn't really love it. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna read the sequel. Because, again, like, I'm not that excited about the story. I'm not that invested in it. I don't, like, feel the need to know how it ends, honestly. And that is kind of disappointing. But to wrap this up and give my final ratings, so the first book that I read was Recursion, and I ended up deciding that I did really like the craziness of the end, and so I'm giving that one 4.5 stars. Then with The Justice of Kings, I didn't absolutely love the first half, but I did really love the second half, and I decided that my 3.75 was closer to 4, so I'm giving that one 4 stars. And King of Scars, I am giving, I think, 3 stars. I was like deciding between 3 or 3.5, but I think sadly it's closer to a 3, because like I still did enjoy it, like it was still an enjoyable time overall, but it was nothing that I was, like I said, very excited about or, very invested in. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end up giving that one 3 stars. And yeah, I mean, this was definitely successful once again, because I read books that I wouldn't have read anytime soon if it wasn't for this video. And I did really like 2 of the books that I read, and the third, I didn't dislike it, like it was just okay. And these videos are always a lot of fun, because first, I do get to read like books that I wasn't, anticipating, and also there's always like a mix of genres of books that I read. In this case, there were 2 fantasies, but there was also a sci-fi. So yeah, it's always fun to film these videos, and I definitely want to film more of them in the future. But this is everything for this one. And so thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!